Welcome to the Energizer Moment. I am back here with this wonderful, amazing author, Bill Treasurer. He is the CEO and founder of Giant Leap Consulting. He's worked with numerous organizations in leadership positions, but his purpose in life is to create more and more courageous leaders, and he's done that with NASA, Saks Fifth Avenue, UBS, you name it. So Bill, thank you for joining me. Now I got one question that's going to pop off the page. When I wrote my last book, Resiliency GPS, I talk about Act 3. In your book, the leadership kick in the ass, which I love, I'm going to read this here, that you are believe that senior leaders are likely to experience different stages in their career, and what kicks them, as you would say, in the ass, and how does that work with that experience? And you have a word that I will not even attempt to pronounce to explain this. So talk to our listeners about this next level of career that can happen when they get kicked.
Sure. And let me just say that, I love the complementarity between your book, your Resiliency GPS, and A Leadership Kick in the Ass. And there's a lot of concepts that reinforce each other. And this is one of them. And in the book, I talk about that third act of your career, if you will, that when you will sometimes face there's a good German word for it, and it's torchless panic. Torchless panic.
Torchless panic. That sounds like 3 words. Panic without.
It does sound right. It's torchless panic, and what it means is fear of closing gates. Now, one of my books is Leaders Open Doors. There becomes a time in your career where the fear is the fear of the diminishment of opportunities, the fear that I'm going to be left out, the fear that I'm not going to be part of the future of this organization because my shelf life is fast approaching and I'm in the sunset of my career. And it's the fear that the gate is closing. And in medieval times, it was exactly that if you did not get back in time and they closed the gate to the medieval fortress, you were going to be left outside with all of the threatening things out, the marauding intruders and could be lions and tigers and bears outside of a castle fort. And so this fear of closing opportunities. Now, this happens later on in a person's career. And I say that because I've worked with a lot of sort of late stage leaders, if you will. One organization that I work with, a client of mine in Chicago, they did something interesting. So a number of these senior leaders, including the CEO owner of this $500 million company, was starting to feel marginalized. And they didn't want to be set out to pasture, but they recognized they needed to create space for the new and younger generation to come up and become vice presidents and executive vice presidents and such. So what they did is they identified people that were over 60, and there was a small group of them, about 8 of them, and they became what was called the ambassadors. They became the ambassadors. And the role of the ambassadors, and by the way, they created a logo for themselves. It looks like the Avengers logo. It's a big A. They have it on multiple. They've got it on their lapel.
Do they wear capes? No.
They don't wear capes, but they might as well, because they are sort of superheroes in the organization in that they act as mentors for the next generation. They act as people that will go to job sites, people that will review estimates, people who will act as a career coach. So what they've done is they've drummed up new meaning for themselves in the organization, which is great for everybody else because they get to rely now on the wisdom of this late stage leader in their later stages in their career, where really they've got the most accumulated wisdom. So they've capitalized on the fact that they're older as employees.
I love this concept. I just saw it was a TED talk, and can't remember the gentleman who was on it, but he talked about the fact that the wisdom that we had, the knowledge that we had to put a man on the moon is lost. Because when they got rid of people, the institutional knowledge to be able to do that vanished. And I love that notion that is Act 3, that when they can in fact come back and be present and use their wisdom so that it isn't lost, that's brilliant. And I think that creates a resilient organization. Great idea.
The echo, the boomerang effect of that has been, Eileen, is that it has taught the generations coming up that you don't get to a point where you are devalued in this organization. You get to a point of accumulated value in this organization, and we're going to care about you even when you're older, and you're going to have a role here to give back.
I love that notion. It's accumulated value versus devalue. Bill, thanks so much. I've got more questions for you, and we'll circle back and do this at another time.
Great.